Hidden Object Guru here, joined by...
The Gun Wrangler.
To talk about, that's right, Star Trek Picard. Oof.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a real thing. It
It's
really exists.
it's hard to find a starting point with what went wrong aside from Kurtzman.
Yeah, no, he should not be let anywhere near Star Trek anymore. Just get him away from Star Trek.
Same thing with Shaban. Have you
Oh yeah,
like
no,
I started
Michael Chabon really should not. Now that I saw that he co-executive produced and I watched all of the episodes he wrote, like he seemed like a guy who just really loved Star Trek. When he was, talking about Discovery and doing his little mini treks. But
and he's an excellent novelist.
oh,
It
absolutely,
turns out he hates Star Trek and especially its fans.
yeah, he
And
doesn't
this
like
is
Star Trek, and this is his like war against Star Trek in TV show form,
yeah.
which
And
is a
this
weird
is
thing
like
to do.
it's an open statement of contempt. Like he's made
For
statements.
everything. Yeah, it's contempt for everything that Star Trek stands for, and the people who love Star Trek. But he's actually said this publicly.
Yes.
That's crazy. Yeah, because it's like it's obvious that that's what's going on just by watching the show. Oh crap! There's rat people here. I don't know. I'm surprised. It's literally a game about fighting rat people, but let's just say I found some
Yeah.
who look a lot better now that the screen isn't trash the way it was before. Hey, buddy. There we go. Okay. Why? I'm not 100% sure. I was about to say, that this was unprecedented, but of course, Zack Snyder famously hates Superman, and they gave Superman to him. So this is not without precedent.
Yeah, but it's not the good kind of precedent either.
No, I'm not saying it should have happened with Superman either. You should probably give a Superman movie to a guy who wants to be making a Superman movie, not a guy who's there, because it's a job.
Like, I can understand, okay, it's a job.
Yeah, job's a job, but giving it to someone who actively hates Superman, that seems like a weird choice. And I would feel the same way about. I feel quite the same way about this and people treating Star Trek this way. And it always seems to be these ridiculous cynics who hate that Star Trek is utopian.
No, we've seen people
Boom.
who hate the utopian aspects, and
Ah,
you know,
thank you. Back away from the flamethrower, please. I want to get a clean shot of him with some arrows. Wow, does he have unlimited sidekicks? Oh no, he's dead. Good. Sorry, are these zombies now?
no, they're chaos cultists.
Oh, okay. Just they got no
Um,
hair, so I thought they might have been zombies. You were saying?
There are some people who can gut it out and be like, okay, while I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise and I think it has problems, I have a problem with the utopian nature of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, look at Ronald D. Moore.
Yes.
He did not like the utopian nature of Star Trek, but still treated it with respect.
Some modicum of respect, yes. He respected the fans, he respected the world, he respected even the world view of the show. Oh, nice
Yeah.
work.
He
I mean,
worked it
didn't kill
into.
them. Yeah, his own story he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Well, and it was especially smart because yes, it's a utopian world, but you know what? Your culture is still going to come into conflict with other cultures who don't have the same values as you. And what do you do then?
Yep.
And sometimes wars happen. And that's why Deep Space Nine is the best show.
So good.
Yeah.
There's a bomb over here if you want to pick that up.
I've already got them all. I'm ready to go. Got health potion, got bombs. Boom. All right. Got my oil drum. I'm ready to whip it at whoever. But to actively have contempt for Star Trek, its fans, really everything about it, and to be like, we should be put in charge of Star Trek. It seems crazy to me. It seems crazy that any money men would ever sign off on it. And I hate to say it. I mean, I'm not saying Michael Chabon's not a great writer. He obviously is. But it's not like he's a giant famous name that average people know about. And they're like, oh, Michael Chabon is doing the new Star Trek. Then I better watch it. So I don't understand what he's bringing to Star Trek other than kind of hating Star Trek and wanting to ruin it. Like, what is he bringing to the party?
Bulk of it is him hating Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because the ethos with Kurtzman and a few others seems to be whatever fans or people who respect the franchise enjoy, we should do the opposite.
Yes. I mean, you see that quote from him, and it's like, well, you know, I know people want old-timey Star Trek, but it's like, people who go to movies only want big action now, so Star Trek's going to be big action from now on. To which I respond, okay, that makes sense for your 2 terrible Star Trek movies you wrote, but people who watch TV don't expect big nonsense action. TV right now is a place for... Oh, I see it. Oh, damn. TV right now is a place where you can find any kind of television. Where you can find slow, ponderous, philosophical television. Where you can have television that is exactly like the best Star Trek should be. You can find that on TV right now. No one's going to Westworld for constant gun battles. They're going to Westworld
watching Westworld.
Oh, good. Maybe we'll talk about Westworld after I've seen the 3rd season. But it's like, you go to Westworld for long, ponderous conversations about the nature of reality, and then every now and then someone gets shot.
Yeah, you see some titties.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
that's Westworld.
That's Westworld. Like, you can have a show that is more slow and thoughtful on TV. You don't have to be nonsense action all the time. But I don't think that Kurtzman is going with nonsense action all the time because he honestly thinks that's what the audiences want. I think he's doing that because it's all he knows how to do. And I'm going to go on a limb and say he's not even actually that good at it.
Yeah, I mean, with Discovery and Picard.
Okay, I could use some help. I accidentally triggered a wave of dudes. We've seen, please.
We've seen just how bad he is.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I think what shocks me is how nothing ever pays off. You know, it's like he sets up things and they never really pay off. Nothing really goes anywhere. He's just like, oh, this would be a cool thing to happen. And does that set up something? No, it's just going to happen. Like, how far into the show did you make it? Did you finish
Discovery?
it? Yeah, no, this one.
Like 3 episodes, and I had to do, like, that I flicked it to 2 times speed and it was still intolerable.
Okay, I respect that. How far did you get in?
I've had the bulk of it spoiled for me.
Okay, good. So you know about all the major plot points and such.
Yes. Let's start at the top.
Yes, let's.
It makes no sense that once the Romulan star explodes, destroying their home system, that suddenly
this would in any way impoverish or even inconvenience the Romulans.
It might inconvenience them, I'll be honest.
Well, it inconveniences them, but I mean, and yeah, in the same way, Earth would inconvenience humanity if it was destroyed, but they got 1,000 other planets. They've got a fleet of starships.
Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
In DS9 during the Dominion War, bringing the Romulan Star Empire into the war was like bringing the U.S. into the Second World War.
Exactly. They are a giant, powerful star empire. The idea that losing a planet is going to cause a huge problem. And the thing is, you know why this makes sense? And the real problem with the plot is that they had a warning. Oh no, I've been trapped by one of those trappers. Thank you. Right? The real problem with the plot is they had a warning. So you look at Star Trek 6, right? Undiscovered Country.
Yeah.
The Klingons had problems caused for them because their homeworld got half blown up out of nowhere. Like, they were all just living, their homeworld's fine, they're doing energy production on their moon, right? And then one day, boom, the moon explodes because their energy mining goes bad, right?
Yeah.
And so that actually causes a huge problem because a huge number of prominent Klingons are killed, and their shipbuilding yards that are around their homeworld are killed. Like, they've actually got are destroyed. Like, they've actually got a serious problem caused when Konos is half blown up by the moon. Whereas the Romulans had, like, years worth of warning that their sun was going to go nova. They had ample time to take their fleet and leave. But beyond that?
Like, beyond that, the Klingons in 20 years were once again back up to full strength.
Exactly. You're right. Completely, they were fine after a couple of and by the time the next generation happens, they've completely recovered. Yeah, they had peace with the humans. The Federation. They had sued for peace with the Federation, and Kittimer had decided that, and then there was a massacre later on by the Romulans. But that's beside the point. But they went and they said, okay, we'll have peace and we'll rebuild and become a formidable army again. And they did just that. And in the same way, Romulus does not have so many resources, and it's not their only source of resources, that they couldn't rebuild their star empire. But more importantly, they didn't even lose their star empire. Like, losing Romulus doesn't destroy your fleet. It doesn't have anything to do with the planets you own. It doesn't have anything to do with the, 100 billion Romulans who are spread out all across your 1,000 planets. Probably not that many, but still a lot. Right? There's billions and billions and billions of Romulans out there across all of these planets, and we're expected to believe that because their homeworld blew up, now they're like poor people living in a shanty town?
Yeah. That was another thing I was confused about. Why? I thought this was not Westworld that I was watching, so why is it Westworld?
Yeah, the shantytown was pretty bad. Like, they're living in a dusty mess, and it's like, a guy who used to be a senator is now a drunk, and he's mad at Picard because... and I just love that they're mad at Picard and mad at the humans because the shipyards got blown up, so they weren't able to provide ships to help evacuate Romulus. Like, yep. Really? I don't 100% see how that's the fault of the humans.
Well, beyond that, let's remember.
Yeah.
Back, like, basic TNG stuff.
Yeah.
Right? What powers a Romulan starship?
Oh God, yeah, it's completely different than. Is it what the hell was it? Was it no? It's not a miniature black hole. It's
no, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's a miniature black hole they use. Thank you.
They have modified and controlled singularities.
Yeah.
There's no reason that these people, they have replicators.
Yeah, I know. Why are they living in mud huts? You're absolutely right.
Also brings up
they use dilithium to do stable fusion on Starfleet ships, right?
Yeah.
Whereas they've got they've got controlled black holes on Romulan ships. These people have better technology than humans do. Why are they living in mud huts in the desert somewhere?
Beyond that, replicators exist, and they've existed for a long time, which brings up my other point that I really didn't like.
In the original Star Trek, they could replicate food easily enough, but there's clothing and such. But you have to assume that in the original Star Trek, they didn't have, they had yet to perfect the technology for elaborate technical replicators that made machines, right? They just weren't there yet. But by the time Star Trek Next Generation rolls around, you can pretty much replicate whatever you want. You can replicate guns. You can replicate medicine. You're good.
Which brings up my next point.
Please.
Raffi's bitching at him, and she's like, oh, well, you live in this wonderful castle full of
And, gorgeous
You know,
antiques. So could you!
Yeah, go find a replicator, man.
Use a replicator to build one!
Nothing's
Also,
stopping
all those
you.
antiques are definitely replicated, because, the family home burned down that time.
Yeah, like it really didn't stop Picard from.
No. Like, he rebuilt it. It's fine.
I grew up on a farm like this.
Yeah, it's very... No, that scene made no sense to me whatsoever. To say that there's a class and... Okay, I don't like chaos machines. I've changed my mind on chaos machines. I have not come around on these guys. Do I have like a flame bomb or something? Because I just used all of my arrows. Oh, there's a sea of fire. Good. Hey, I actually hit him. That's rare for me. But yeah, like, her complaining about that made zero sense to me. Like, you're living in a trailer in the desert because you choose to live in a trailer in the desert. You could be living in a mansion in the desert. You could be living in the woods somewhere. Like, don't make your self-pity Picard's problem.
And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. Whoa! Oh, sorry. I accidentally shot,
Yeah.
the guy I was rescuing a bunch of times. I don't think there's friendly fire, though. But yeah, like, she makes her self-pity everybody else's problem. Also,
it makes
Please.
no sense, and I kind of feel like Patrick Stewart was using the show as like personal therapy, the same way that Blunt Talk had been.
Yeah, it's weird the extent to which Blunt Talk is just him doing that instead of going to a therapist.
Yeah, no, on the show he goes to a therapist.
Yeah, I know. But it's all safely scripted, so he doesn't have to really put himself out there. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Unlock and go... Oh, we have to go through the barn. And right when I unlocked it, that's when the Boogans came out and charged us.
Yep.
But yeah, like, I can see what you're saying, but what is the best example of that you're thinking of within the show?
Within the show, we have him, first of all, the man in the first episode who's bushwhacked by, some Corn League, BS Diet Fox News reporter. It's like,
know.
It wasn't my fault. I'm like, you had no less than 5 episodes in TNG where all you did was debate,
Yep.
including the one that is constantly referenced on the show, being Measure of a Man.
Yeah. That's your whole thing.
You are described as a consummate diplomat
Yep.
and some Bush League.
A terrible Fox reporter who, by the way, is there to ambush you. They're not there to tell a happy story about this attempt to rescue all of Romulus, which which everyone was against. Like, everyone was against this attempt to rescue Romulus. You were forced out of Starfleet. No one likes you in the press, and you think this lady's here to do a puff piece?
Yeah.
Like, how could you possibly think that, Jean-Luc?
Like, same thing when he ends up on Wild West World. And he's like, oh yeah, here's what I'm going to do. Deliberately provoke people and get someone's head cut off. Because
although it's debatable, and this kind of makes him look like a terrible person, that wasn't a mistake, that he was deliberately provoking people, so his ninja friend would be forced to come and cut a guy's head off, thereby making it so he had to leave with him.
Yeah.
And that's pretty obviously what was happening there, which makes him look especially, like, it makes him look even worse if he did that because he's a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so you just provoked a fight and got that man killed so that a guy would come with you on a trip?
Second. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, they did not think that.
Where? Stop.
Okay. What am I doing? Are we about to be rushed by a giant
Apparently, I
horde?
can't heal you right now, so...
Oh, you can't... Am I not full health? I thought I was full health.
Or not.
Oh. I will be more careful then. But anyway, yes. Like, that whole scene is... Oh, yeah, there I go. Thank you. That whole scene is ridiculous. Even by the standards of Star Trek Picard, which are pretty low.
Yeah,
It's a pretty low bar,
Makes
but that
sense.
is unbelievable.
About the Borg cube and reclaiming people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of liked the idea of reclaiming people from a Borg cube, but there's a giant conflict within the show, which is if the Romulans are such a dilapidated, faded power that has no value,
Why are they doing this?
why are they doing this?
Or
They
another
definitely
question,
don't care
how?
about anybody. Like, is there a reason ever offered for why the Borg is doing any of this? Sorry, the Romulans are doing any of this with the Borg?
Did they mention where the Borg cube comes from?
No. I swear to God they never mention where the Borg cube came from.
Yeah. So it's not me being inattentive.
No,
it's just
like, again, or maybe we both were, but I did not hear a clear statement about where this Borg cube came from, full of deactivated Borg. Like, what exactly was happening here? Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. I was gonna say maybe it's the one from First Contact, but no, that was destroyed. Also, that was a sphere, so it can't be that one. That whole sequence puzzled the hell out of me. Everything said on here. I mean, it was nice checking in with Hugh again. Like, enjoyed that.
Well,
and killed
see
him
how well
off.
that ended for him.
Well, yeah, like, don't be on a Star Trek show now if you want your character to live. I think it's just a good, lesson. 7 of 9 is now just a crazy, drunken cowboy. Kind of,
Which is,
180'd that character pretty hard.
Yep.
But I think part of the show's, complete lack of, interest or, sanity or doing anything just right. You know that in the entire length of the show, we never actually found out why all the synths on Mars, went nuts and started killing people?
Nope. It's allegedly...
Maybe the Romulans did it. We don't know. The show sure as hell doesn't tell us.
Yep. And beyond that, like,
that's the mystery that the whole show is built around, and it is never resolved. Because these people don't know how to structure a TV show. They get to the end of the show and they're like, hey, did we ever resolve that fundamental mystery upon which the entire show was built? The answer is, actually, no, we never got around to doing that.
we'll talk about it next season. Or not.
Maybe. More likely not. Oh my god. And... so, can we get a little into the fact that he decided to 100% rip off Mass Effect?
Yeah. I feel like discussing this.
Yeah.
Because my best buddy watched a show and he's like,
It's just Mass Effect.
I'm like, this is Mass Effect. I showed him the side-by-side comparison. I'm like, yeah, load up the episode and I'll show you.
The side-by... oh, wait, someone on the internet did a video that is side-by-side comparing Mass Effect to Star Trek Picard. Of course, I mean, it wouldn't be hard to do. They're exactly the same story. Right down to there being a marker that drives people mad and tells them about the Harbingers and the Collectors.
Yeah.
Like, every part of it is just Mass Effect. Right down to the essentially the motivation of the enemies. Although it is slightly reversed in that this time they are fully AI creatures who want to wipe out, whose motivation, by the way, makes zero sense in this. Like, I say this about the Collectors in Mass Effect. At least you kind of got where they were coming from. Whereas here, the motivations of these guys seems to be, oh well, fuck all organic life.
Why? No reason.
No reason. There's a lot of big problems with how shamelessly he rips off Mass Effect in this. To the point where it's like, I know they're not going to sue, because nobody sues over anything in intellectual property anymore, but I almost feel like they should sue. Just to make a point.
They do sue, because the creator of another game is currently suing Discovery for shamelessly ripping off everything.
Yeah, but he's a small creator. Giant corporations tend not to sue each other over things like this, but we'll see. Like a small indie creator whose entire life is, this game they made. Yeah, I see why they sue, because they shamelessly ripped him off for Discovery. But like a much bigger company, I don't know if they sue because it might not be worth the PR hassle to make for EA. Because it's not like EA is out there looking to make more Mass Effect games anytime soon. Like, I feel like maybe they don't sue just because it would be a hassle and bad PR to sue.
No, I would argue that it'd be good PR.
Maybe. I mean, nobody likes Picard, so maybe it would be good PR.
Well, the only people who like it are allegedly the critics.
How? How can a critic watch this show and enjoy what they were seeing?
If you look at the Metacritic, it's got like an 87% rating or something dumb like that.
I did not look at the Metacritic, but now I'm sad. Thank you for that. Wow. 87? That's madness. Like, it's a cliche. Everything is cliched. It's a complete ripoff. Everybody is behaving out of character. The plot makes zero sense. Nothing that is set up is ever paid off. How do you watch this and come away thinking, yeah, that was a satisfying 10 hours of television? I mean, can I tell you the one thing that entertained me?
What?
The guy with 5 emergency holograms that all look like him but behave completely differently. I was mildly entertained by his plethora of holograms. Although, I gotta say, even there, it didn't make the most sense, because, like, Allison Pill murders a guy, and then they don't bother checking into the fact that that guy died. Right?
Like, they seem really okay with what is at best manslaughter.
At best. Like, literally, they don't even check with the emergency medical hologram to find out how he died. Because then, when they finally do, days later, he's like, oh yeah, I was trying to save him and she mysteriously turned me off. And it's not like I stopped seeing things. I'm still in charge of the sick bay, whether or not I've been personalized as a hologram. So then, of course, I saw her murder him. Like, that's not worth sharing with the crew until directly asked. What the hell kind of emergency medical hologram are you? Because that's the thing. Once you turn him off, it doesn't mean he stops having sensors. He's still in the computers of the medbay. The sensors still see what's happening on the ship. He still has total awareness of the ship, so...
Yeah.
He knows she killed him, and he just, doesn't bother bringing that up. What the hell, show? That part... It baffled me. And then at the end of the series, they're like, oh yeah, she'll stay in our crew. Like, no. Send her to jail. She murdered someone.
Yeah, it was just... She'll stay on her crew. Like, all I could think of was, remember the episode of Community where Troy becomes the AC repair school's messiah?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, no, don't do your ridiculous... Don't do your
ice
ridiculous
caves of Moran.
Ice caves or whatever. Go send him to jail.
Kill the man. Send him to jail.
He killed a guy. Like, no, stop with this nonsense. Hey, there's a cage. We freed people! Woo! I feel great about myself. Uh-oh. Is that all of them? No, that's a bunch of them. There's more inside the sawmill. We're gonna go save them. Yeah, it's like, she killed a guy. She doesn't, and I don't care that she was upset when she killed the guy, and she was thinking about her experiences with the marker when she killed a guy. She still killed a guy, and probably shouldn't be on your crew. You don't know if she's mentally stable now. Even if you 100% give it to mental instability caused by the marker, like, you still don't know if she's stable. So yeah, don't do that.
Well, beyond that,
yeah,
large part of the crew actually kind of is murdering.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, like, what do you call it?
Seven of Nine.
7 of 9, going around murdering people.
She's like, I'm just gonna borrow 2 rifles, and Picard's like, yeah, that's dope.
That's completely fine, and I don't find this suspicious at all. Like, what? So Picard's just an idiot now? Oh god, and then you've got, what was the, and then you've got the real disappointing thing, which is that it's like, you actually had a chance, right, to do something Star Trek with this.
Yeah.
Which is, we learned that 10, 15,000 years ago, the Romulans made AI, and they got super powerful, and they tried to destroy the AI. I mean, basically Terminator happened to the Romulans 15,000 years ago, okay? And then the AI went to another dimension. And
Wait,
they
how does
left a
that
marker.
jive up with the Vulcans then?
Well, no, it was after the split. It was after the split between the Romulans and the Vulcans.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was a long time. The split between the Romulans and the Vulcans. I mean, it's weird that the Vulcans don't know that any of this happened, but, you know, let's move on. Alright, so the Romulans and the Vulcans, they had a split. Then they created AI, then the AI basically did a Terminator Skynet on them, right? And this is where it gets weird. Now, and that is what the entire show is based around. These guys have, you know, left to go to another dimension, and they're just going to hang out in the other dimension, and if ever new AI crops up, well, they'll come back and help out.
Well,
And we are told that they're going to help out by wiping out all organic life in the universe. And here's my response to that. Here's how you could have the perfect Star Trek style story. You could have that be what the Romulans believe. Because the Romulans, and there's no better way to say this, are assholes about everything all the time. They are Yeah.
That's just Discovery. Or, sorry,
No.
Picard. They're running together now.
No, in the history of all Star Trek, Romulans have been assholes about everything all the time. They are always sneaky, they are always underhanded, they are always villains, and they always think the worst about everybody, right? That's why they are almost impossible to have a treaty with. Yeah, they still have kids and they still like things, but it's like, at the same time, if you're born with a birth defect, they kill you at birth. You know?
When did this come up?
When Geordi LaForge was trapped on a planet with Romulans. With one Romulan guy. And he keeps talking about how Geordi wouldn't have been allowed to live as a child because he was blind. And then Geordi uses his visor to save the day, and he's like, you know, if I hadn't been blind, we'd both be dead on this planet. So maybe you shouldn't be such a dick about everything all the time, Romulans.
I vaguely remember that now.
Yeah. Yeah, like, Romulans are bad dudes, generally. Okay, I got leeched, but thank you for rescuing me. Whoever did. But anyway, right? So Romulans are generally bad dudes all the time. And that's where you could have done something interesting Star Trek with it. You could, because they tried to wipe out the AI, and the AI fought back, it led to a war between them 15,000 years ago, right? Uh-oh. Now, but the thing is, we only have the Romulans' word that it happened the way they said it did. And Romulans are dicks about everything all of the time. So you could have had the show end with them communicating with the AI, right? And the AI from another dimension just being like, yeah, will any AI that crops up in this galaxy, we will happily come and rescue and bring to our place. But we don't want to wipe out all sentient life. That's just something that the Romulans think, because they think everything is a war, and they think everything is a trick, and they think everything is a scam. The aliens, the now alien AI, could have had a completely different motivation and actually not been villains. And that would have been a perfect Star Trek way to kind of end the thing, where Picard has to deal with the AIs via diplomacy rather than, you know, blowing things up. But instead, they open up the portal, and no, they're just tentacle monsters.
Yeah. Like,
Really? They're
beyond
just tentacle monsters?
Like, it baffles me
It's insane.
how not Trek this is.
Oh, incredibly.
And I feel like it's a combination of Patrick Stewart's therapist being out for the week and Alex Kurtzman. Like, have you heard the story from Blunt Talk about circumcision?
No.
Like, I knew that Patrick Stewart was always, upper class and, as a result, a little divorced from reality.
Yeah. That's quite
Realize you-
reasonable to describe him that way.
There's a scene in Blunt Talk where he's at a urinal with another dude.
Yeah.
But this is something that actually happened to him. And, he's basically like, oh man, I really object to circumcision. Like, I got circumcised. The guy looks down and goes, oh, you haven't?
What?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, sure I have. Look. And the guy's like, no. And so he went back and he talked to his wife. And she's like, yeah, no, you're not circumcised.
He thought he was circumcised?
Yes.
What?
Like, when I say divorced from reality, I am.
Okay, that
Not
is a crazy thing to say. I am very surprised by that. Okay, yeah, that's divorced from reality. Oh
Yep.
my god. Wow. What do
So-
you think circumcision was?
I don't know. But, like, now he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
He's slowing down, and he's trying to cope with the fact that he's like, I've just been separated from the real world for so long.
Yeah.
Like, I think this might be the first time he's like, refugees actually exist? God.
We should do a story about that. And let's do it in the least sensible way possible.
Well, that's what you get with the, that was the feeling I got from, when he did Blunt Talk,
Yeah.
and they had that environmental sub-arc,
Yeah.
right?
But I mean, Blunt Talk is largely about a guy after, things go horribly wrong for him. He starts finding out how, the world actually works. And that's what made it so interesting, that he actually has to deal with real things for the first time ever.
But I'm pretty sure that's what,
This was too.
yeah. Like, he wasn't done realizing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And he's
Oh,
trying to
that's
cope
really
with
upsetting. That is really upsetting.
Well, if you go on, look at his record, like, in the 90s, there was a guy who was kicked out of the Screen Actors Guild or the Writing Guild or something like that because he identified a bunch of actual communists during the Cold War.
Right.
So he got kicked out of the association, and Patrick Stewart was like, oh, I'm not even going to mention him. He's not worth mentioning. And he was a despicable rat. I'm like, no. Actual communists
Well,
were trying to pay people to influence Hollywood.
yes. Well, that we can talk about that the ethics of the blacklist later, but yeah, he's you're saying that he goes a little too far with social issues from time to time, which would not surprise me, especially finding out about that weird circumcision thing. And so he wanted to tell this story about refugees, but they couldn't find a logical way to do it in any way, shape, or form. And then you get the data stuff piled on, and you get piled onto that what the show was really supposed to be about, which was just about data and AIs, because that's what Brian Fuller pitched when he was developing Discovery, and then they completely ripped him off and changed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah. And the thing is, the refugee stuff, it's so the first half of the show, and then really never comes into play. Like, once, whatever they were trying to say about refugees, the second, Romulan Legolas gets on the ship with them, they have no more to say about Romulus, or refugees, or the attack on Mars, or really anything. Like,
Yeah.
all of the meaningful stuff, that's all gone the minute Legolas gets on their ship.
that aside, Romulans are not spiritual.
No. No, they are not. But I mean, I mean, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that they could have. I mean, I guess on some level you want to say that. Well, yeah, it seems like the Romulan character is completely incompatible with like having a monastic order. But you know, I don't want to say there's billions and billions of Romulans. They could have a monastic order.
But to have 2 monastic orders of warrior women?
That was a bit of a stretch. Like, I don't understand why they both had to be all-female monastic orders. Like, didn't they, when looking at the outline, say, you know, you did the same thing twice, right? There are 2 different warrior woman monastic orders who each have one guy hanging around for no reason.
Yeah, who's just like a random hanger-on.
Just a random hanger-on and it's all female. Like, maybe... And the thing is, if you want to keep the Yad Vash,
or whatever they are.
Yeah, right. If you want to keep them an all-female order, there's no real reason to. But just, you know, you can come up with some justification and say that this guy gets to be with them because he's the twin brother of the lady who's in charge. You could do that. But then don't make the monastic order also be ladies only. Otherwise, you're just doing the exact same thing twice. And there's no reason to do the exact same thing twice. And hope nobody notices. Like, what are you doing, guys? Ah, god damn it, this guy. I really don't like him. Although I do like how he disappears into nothingness when you kill him. That is fun. But yeah, like, the 2 different female monastic orders, you know, guarding secrets and whatnot, that, it seems like a strange choice. And then at the same time, you have this bizarre misunderstanding where the show seems to think you build spaceships, and I know this is such a minor thing to complain about, but it still bothers me. The show seems to think you build spaceships on a planet?
So, they're not very good with understanding things like space.
I know! Like, it's a planet. It's... No, you know spaceships are never supposed to land, right? They're entirely... I mean, they can every now and then, but they have to be specifically designed to land. And you can say, well, these ones work because they're supposed to evacuate the planet. Well, yeah, but that's what transporters are for. Transporters will get the job done a lot faster than having to actually land and have people walk onto the ship and take off. Like, that's an extra 10 hours, or whatever, you don't need. No, but the point is, you build them in space. The Mars shipyards are a giant, essentially floating city over Mars. We've actually seen it in Star Trek before.
Yeah.
Like, how is this show... And the thing is, it doesn't change the plot of the episode at all if they got that element right. But they got it wrong just to get it wrong. You know, it's so baffling to... Oh, crap, that is a lot of bad guys. Well, I have a grenade, so...
Yep.
There we go. Ooh, damn, that is a grenade. They're all on fire. Nice. But it's like... And that's one of the things that really bothers me, is, like, getting stuff wrong for no particular reason, you know? Like, there's no reason to depict Mars shipyards as a thing on Mars rather than a thing in space. They just did it because they didn't care. And they wanted to put in the
lack of
least amount of
attention to
effort.
detail.
Thank you. Yes, that is what I'm getting at. I don't know why that phrase was eluding me. But yes, it's a complete lack of attention to detail. And it infects everything about the series. They just didn't care about getting any of the details right for the entire show. Also, I'm sorry, but like, least engaging new main character I've maybe ever seen.
Yeah. Like, it's impressive how much I dislike everyone on the crew.
But I especially don't care about the woman that all of this is supposed to be about. Yeah, I get it, you're a robot. Give me something other than robotic acting. Like, I just don't... Like, this is a woman who has thought she's human for her entire life. apparently. Well, I mean, not her entire life. Obviously, she newly had these... like, she knew she was a robot when she was built, and she knew she was a robot when she was living on Bruce and Sung's planet. And they only put in these fake memories, like, 4 years ago. You might say, hey, why did they put in fake memories and send her to become a scientist on this Borg ship? And the answer is, I have no idea. The show has no idea why any of this happened. But, like, she originally knew she was a robot, and these are all new memories, and they blanked out her memories and created a new personality. But it's like, she's just so dull the entire show. She's so flat, so dull, like... I mean, the biggest reason she should not believe that the Romulan spy has fallen in love with her is that she is not a person worth falling in love with. She's just so flat. And it's so frustrating to watch. That I don't get how I'm supposed to be on board with her story. And the fact that it's like, after being human, being a robot for a bunch of years, and then being a human for a bunch of years... After roughly 8 seconds, she's like, yeah, I'm 100% on board with destroying all organic life.
That seems reasonable.
That seems reasonable. Oh, I've had a bad couple of days and my 20 friends are in trouble. Let's destroy all organic life. What? Oh my god. Oh. And then you get to the end of the show, and I'm sure you know how it ends.
Yeah, and so Picard makes this allegedly massive sacrifice.
Yep, that is undone 1 second later.
Yeah,
literally, maybe even half a second. Like, and for the love of God, Wrath of Khan, they had the decency to keep Spock dead for 3 years.
Yeah.
Do you know what the crazy part is about Picard coming back to life immediately? That's not the first time that's happened to Patrick Stewart.
Really?
In the movie X-Men 3, X-Men The Final Battle or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't remember. All right. So at the beginning of the movie, they're like, hey, here in Scotland, here's a guy who's completely brain dead, but we're, keeping the body around for no real reason to test out how long we can keep things alive for. And then at the end of the movie, we're like, oh yeah, Patrick Stewart transferred his brain over to that guy. And they awkwardly, set up how they were going to bring Patrick Stewart back. Like, really toxically, horribly, awkwardly. They set up how they were going to bring Patrick Stewart back, like, early in the movie. And in the same thing, in the same way, in this episode... Oh my god, it's a Chaos Spawn! Give me a heads up when one of those shows up next time. But anyway, early in the show, they're like, oh yeah, we've got this perfectly, in every way, human, genetic organism we've created... that's just waiting to have a personality popped into it. And I'm like, oh gosh, I wonder how Picard's going to come back later. Like, they could not have set it up more awkwardly. At least with the frigging mind reading of the mind reading soul transfer in Wrath of Khan, it wasn't 100% completely obvious how he was going to come back.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know how they were going to do it. And it was, it kind of works. It's it's a cop-out to Spock's death, but we all love Spock, blah, 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 blah. By comparison, I don't want to be a dick about this. Patrick Stewart's in his 80s. Maybe just kill off Picard. They're like, don't worry, we brought you back. Exactly as old and frail as you were. You just don't have a brain disorder. Like, what?
And they're going to use the brain disorder thing as a cop-out for all of his weird behavior and weakness. And
yeah. But now in the second season, he's not going to have a brain disorder anymore. Because he's got a robot body out of nowhere. Oh, such a cop-out. Such a ridiculous cop-out. No, I don't know what they were thinking with most of this, but this was especially awful, right? It was a ridiculous cop-out that was actually, kind of offensive.
Yeah.
Especially, by the way, and then he meets Data, because they've rebuilt Data's brain. And you have the strangest moment ever, where it's like, we're two different teams writing this show. Because the entire show, the theme of it is supposed to be that synthetic life is just as valuable as human life. Right?
Yeah.
It is just as valuable. They have every bit as much right to life. Just because they're not created the way we are and they don't have our limitations doesn't mean they should be disrespected or controlled or treated like slaves, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, it's safe to say that's pretty much the entire theme of the show, right?
Yeah.
So then he goes and talks to Data, and after 5 seconds of talking to Data, Data's like, you better mercy kill me, because life is valueless if people don't die of old age.
No?
No? That's against the entire premise of your show!
Entire premise of the series where it's like, yeah, life is kind of valuable, yo.
Yes, all sentient life is valuable, whatever form it, like, if there was a single message to Star Trek, a single theme, it's that all sentient life is valuable no matter what form it takes. That's why they weren't willing to kill the crystalline entity!
I know.
Because, yes, it's a monster that exists only to eat life, but it is a sentient life form we don't understand, so we don't have the right to kill it. But then you've got freaking Data saying, oh well, because my life isn't real unless I die of old age.
Specifically of old age.
Specifically of old age. What is wrong with you? How do you ruin the entire point of your show in the last,
in one season.
What's wrong with the show? And the answer is everything's wrong with the show. At least you can say up until that scene, the main theme was we've gotta support synthetic life because it just has as much life to exist, right to exist as anybody else. At least you can say that was their message they were trying to get across, and they were consistent with that message. And then the last scene throws away that message and kills off a beloved character.
Yeah, and
for the purposes of throwing away that message.
Like, it's a baffling, confusing mess.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, the one thing that they didn't screw up throughout the entire series was, okay, yeah, all sentient life is valuable.
Yep.
We're just about to make it to the end of this.
Okay. Let's prep some final thoughts on Picard season 1 before we walk into the rift, shall we?
We got we're a ways away.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure. But yes. What are they like? But I mean, can you theorize why is it that they would have shot their entire message and their theme and the entire world in the foot in the last scene?
Yeah.
Why? You can't understand that any more than I can you?
It's hard to wrap my head around this series as a whole, because it's like, okay, we're going to take this beloved character,
yeah,
try and turn him into an action star, realize that this is a bad idea.
He's an 85-year-old man. That's probably not a good idea for him to be going around kicking ass. Like, say what you will about, dad action is a popular genre, but, Liam Neeson's 20 years younger than Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
It's a little more plausible. He's way too old to be getting in on the dad action.
Like, at this point, it's more like for Red and Red 2, and you're just like,
yeah.
This is just cringeworthy.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, come on, guys. No, it's like, Bruce Willis still in good shape. Morgan Freeman?
Less so.
less plausible. Well, and it's funny because Red, the comic book, was actually written with Patrick Stewart in mind, and he's drawn to look like Patrick Stewart.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did you know that Huey in The Boys was supposed to be Simon Pegg?
Yes, I knew that because he was drawn exactly like Simon Pegg.
Yeah, Simon Pegg.
And that's why they put him
I
in
had
the
to give
show
his
as
permission to use his
to
likeness.
use his likeness. Well, I mean, as if Simon Pegg isn't going to sign off to be used as a likeness from the creator of Preacher. Come on, we know how old Simon Pegg is. That would be his favorite thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's pretty great. What's funny though is, oh God, no! Oh, I thought we were going to use the grenade on him, but he died right away.
Got him.
Yay! Thank you very much. Hey, there's the screaming bell. But yeah, it's like if everything else about the show was wrong, and it was, they could have at least have a consistent theme or message that they were trying to say.
Yeah.
But it's like, to even throw that away in the last second of the show is so bizarre to me. That, like, to end a show where... Oh, and by the way, if Picard died for a second there, where the F was Q?
Yeah.
Where's Q?
That's a good question.
I mean, I guess you can say, well, Q knows that he's just going to come back as a robot. But it's like, there's no way the character of Jean-Luc Picard dies without Q showing up to be there. To explain to him how the universe works. That's always been at the core of their relationship. That was going to happen. Because it did happen once before.
Several times.
No, but specifically he was about to die. And, you know, Q showed up to take him on It's a Wonderful Life journey.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Right? But it's like, so if he's actually going to die, if this is it, I don't think Q's going to intervene and save him again. But he would be there.
Yeah. He'd have some fun with him on the way out.
Of course.
And then find a new plaything.
Well, we don't know what they would do. We honestly don't know what the end of their relationship and how that would emotionally affect Q is. But he would definitely be there. We can say we can say we know that much about Q. He would 100% be there. But yeah, to like, this is a world with crystalline entities. This is a world with 8 different races who are literally immortal gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that we know about. You know, like we have run into... This is a world where there's a planet that is entirely a... that is entirely a hologram simulation of a planet whose people don't know that they're holograms and are going to live on for generations, breeding and having new adventures and living full lives without knowing that they're a simulation of a colony, right? That is the world of Star Trek. So, for someone to, at the last moment, come in and say, life isn't valuable unless you die of old age at 90, is insane. It's not only insane, it is an offense to everything we know about Star Trek.
Yeah.
And the entire, like, theme of, not of this show, but of the entire series. It is disgusting. Like, the end of the show is legitimately disgusting to me. And I probably wasn't going to be able to defend the show at all, right? But that was the nail in the coffin for me, was killing off Data because they want to invalidate the entire theme of the show.
Yeah. The exit's over here, yo.
Oh, thank you. Like, that pissed me off so much.
Well, beyond that...
I'm finding myself... Sorry about this. Sorry about ranting, but I'm legit finding myself getting furious at the show in retrospect.
Yeah, no, the show is infuriating.
Oh.
None of the characters are likable. The ones that they did bring back have become thoroughly unlikable.
Yep.
Or, you know, despicable.
God, yeah.
Because, I mean, 7, I think, was the most egregious offender.
Transformation of a character, yeah. Completely new character. And, like, at least... I know, but Riker and Troy do fine. Riker and Troy do fine. But actually,
they didn't
there's one
do
problem
anything.
with the
They
two of them.
burned some tomatoes.
Yeah, I know. There's actually one problem with them. They should have made it, like, because they implied that the son died of, like, a wasting disease.
Yeah.
But it's like, it should have been he died of something much faster, and I'll tell you why. Everything we know about Will Riker says that if his son was dying of a wasting disease that Data's brain could have cured, he would have, abandoned Starfleet and moved heaven and earth to go and find Bruce Maddox and get a new Data brain.
Yeah.
And the only way you can believe that his son would have died tragically is if it's the kind of thing that killed him in 2 weeks. But if he died over 6 months, no, he would have gone and he would have found Bruce Maddox and he would have gotten a new Data brain. He just would have. It's Riker.
If Riker's son was dying, he'd go and punch Q in the nuts and be like, fix my son.
Exactly. That's who Riker is. So it had to be, logically, but again, you're right. It's what you point out, which is they don't understand any of the characters. They don't understand any of them.
Remember, his twin joined the Maquis and stole the Defiant.
We know who this guy is.
Yes.
From the first time we met his father, we've known who this guy is.
Yeah.
And it's like, why don't you keep that going? Why do you butcher that? And it all comes from the movies where they wanted to make Jean-Luc Picard into an action star because that's what the main character is supposed to be, an action star in a movie, but they didn't understand that's what you already had Riker for.
Yeah.
That was Riker's job, but they're like, but no, it's a movie, and movies have to have main characters, and the main character has to be an action star. And you just kind of want to slap them in the face.
Well, 7 of 9 spent 4 seasons of Voyager struggling to become more human and less of a Borg. Yeah. And what did she do? Hooks herself right back into a Borg cube and becomes a Borg.
Yeah, that was problematic. The thing is, it's like I said, I can't find one good thing to say about the show.
Me neither.
I would love to find one positive thing to say, but they got everything wrong.
Even the new characters, all of them are unlikable. Rios is a little bitch. Raffi just sits there and squawks and basically goes, "Oh, well, I wish I had stuff too, but I'm not willing to work for it, so I'm just going to sit here and drink in my trailer."
Yeah. And and to abandon her arc and they never find out that it was Romulans who attacked Mars? The show so forgets about her character that she never ends up even being vindicated.
Yeah. And Soji
and then Alison Pill, whose character name I keep forgetting, who makes no impact and then murders a guy, and then everyone forgets that she murdered a guy and she continues making no impact.
Dr. Girardi?
Who serves no role. Thank you, yes. Agnes Girardi, who serves no, why did they bring her along? You assume it's going to pay off somehow, but she never does anything of note.
I said all that matters.
There's no payoff to her being in the crew. Except she murders a guy and then they all forget about it.
This is okay. But then again, 7 of 9 goes on to murder a whole bunch of people.
And by the way, if you want to, if you're making a Star Trek TV show, and you want to cast a nefarious crime boss, I have an idea for you. Maybe don't cast an actress who looks exactly like Marina Sirtis. I feel like that would be a better plan than casting an actress who looks exactly like Marina Sirtis for that part. What were you doing?
Yeah. I don't have
any explanation or theory about how this happened. Who's Carillion?
Carillion is your character, the elf.
Oh, that's my character, the elf. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway. But yeah, you get to the end of the show and it's just, there's nothing.
there is nothing redeeming about the show or the characters. They've removed value from characters.
Yes.
That
is the best way to describe it.
It
They've made them less valuable characters, less interesting characters.
You can give flour, apples, eggs, and sugar to a master chef, and he'll make you an amazing pie.
Yeah.
You gave all that stuff to a 4-year-old, and now you have negative apples, negative eggs. Things that
you just have a pile of nonsense that was burned to a crisp.
You have taken things that had value previously and removed it.
Yeah, because, you could have just eaten the apples, guys. Maybe you weren't going to do anything with the sugar. You could have eaten the apples.
You could have boiled the eggs.
Yeah, boil the eggs. It'd be fine. Anybody can boil eggs. You can't overboil an egg. Like, literally, you can't overboil an egg.
You would have significant difficulty.
No.
It would require
technically,
hours.
if you boil all the water away, right?
Yeah.
And then just let the eggs sit in a pot that's still on the burner, eventually they will burn. But if, as long as there's still water, you can't even overboil an egg, literally, because there's, the way a pot works, the water can only get so hot, so you can't destroy and burn that egg. It can't be done. So, yeah, the worst chef in the world can boil an egg. Because you can leave, as long as you keep adding water, theoretically, you could leave it in there indefinitely. When I steam eggs, which is how I cook eggs, I'm fine with that, by the way, I can turn that temperature up as high as I want, the timer up as high as I want, because that's how steam works. It only reaches a certain temperature, enough to cook meat, and you can't overcook it because steam never gets hotter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good system. If you're incompetent at cooking, steaming is the way to go. And like you said, there's so much good already in Star Trek, so much easy stuff there that you could just give us more of. But you took the ingredients and you made nothing.
It's not that you made nothing. You have actively removed
value. Yes.
Do you have another name, Carillion?
Star Trek Picard. You have actively removed value from the franchise. That's our headline, I think.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
so depressing.
That's the only way I can possibly describe it. They took characters who were dear to people, like Seven of Nine, like Picard, like Data, and they fucked them.
Yeah, they did. And there's no excuse. There is no excuse for how badly this went. There's just no reason for it, no excuse for it. It's frustrating as hell.
And my final point is going to be, after watching Star Trek Discovery, its plummeting viewer base, its terrible popular reviews.
Yeah.
How could you put this man in charge of Star Trek? Again, for a second season, watch everything decline further.
Yeah.
And then give him Picard.
Well, you know what the one good thing is? There is a non-zero chance that Netflix is going to buy Star Trek. Paramount desperately needs cash right now, and Netflix is actively in discussions with them to maybe buy Star Trek. And I'm not saying that's going to fix it, but that being said, Netflix sees the kind of numbers Deep Space Nine does, and the original Star Trek does, so...
And TNG.
And TNG. So they at least have it. They know that people like the actual Star Trek. And even if I agreed, and this is, I think we should go back to this point from way earlier in our conversation.
Yep.
Even if we agree that that every blockbuster now has to have, try to imagine the fact that in adjusted dollars, adjusted to today dollars, Star Trek The Undiscovered Country only cost $65 million to make.
Yeah.
In adjusted to today dollars. So even if you accept that you have to spend $150 million to make any blockbuster movie, and therefore every blockbuster movie has to be a brainless action movie. You can do whatever you want on TV, and there's an audience for it.
Well, I'm just going to point out...
And Netflix understands that.
I'm going to point out one of the biggest hits of the last little while.
Yeah.
in terms of dollars to output,
Yeah.
is what?
Tell me.
The Invisible Man.
That's true, and that cost nothing.
Yeah.
And it made all of the money. Yeah, no, but it's like but Netflix is where most of that mid-budget action is getting made, like Triple Frontier, like the new Thor movie that's just a mid-budget action movie. Like this stuff is going to Netflix. It's amazing that The Invisible Man didn't go straight to Netflix. I love that it got into theaters.
Well,
right?
It made 25 and cost 3.
Yeah, so there you go. That's all you need.
Yeah.
But these idiotic movie companies think they only want to release a movie that's going to make $200 million. If a movie isn't going to make $200 million domestic, they don't want it to be in theaters. That's how they think. But even if you accept that logic, you don't have that restriction in television. In television, you can do anything you want. You can do a show about Archie comics that's a ridiculous, sexy teen soap opera. You can do Sabrina the Teenage Witch that's, a crazy, intense horror show.
Yeah.
You can do weird stuff. You can do, as you just watched, the madness that is Westworld. Like the sexy, violent madness of Westworld. It doesn't have to be generic Kurtzman-style action. And you can do really thoughtful sci-fi in The Expanse.
Oh, yeah.
That still has action sometimes, but is mostly just a politics show. It's a show about politics, largely.
Which, yeah, we
In
should
space.
really watch some more of
we're
that,
going to do the
too.
fourth season, too, soon. Absolutely. We're going to do an episode about the fourth season very soon. But yeah, I needed to talk about Picard.
Yeah.
So it's like
I too
there's
need
no
to talk about
reason.
Picard, because it's...
Yeah, and I think that's...
Excuse
our final thought is, there's no reason it had to be this bad.
Listen, CBS, if you're listening,
Yeah.
you can hire us both for the cost of one Kurtzman, and you'll get a better result.
That is 100% true.
Plus,
I still
can-
like your pitch for a show.
Which one?
Of doing the unit, but in Star Trek.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, of like what it's actually... None of this idea of... Like the crazy idea in Discovery that, everyone knows about Section 31, and they have their own spaceships. Like, no.
No.
Like,
The
they have
opposite.
to be deep... They're in cover all the time.
Yeah.
No
like
one
not
knows... Yeah.
their commanding
said,
officers don't know. No one
don't know.
knows.
Their family members don't know they're in it.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
have
a
to.
really interesting premise. And it could show the dark side of this otherwise utopian world, and it's like, and that these guys, to preserve the utopian nature of the world, no one can even know that these guys have this job. That's a fascinating idea.
You heard it here
Yeah.
first, CBS. I'll take 50 grand.
To develop a pilot.
I'll
know?
I'll take 5 to develop a pilot. I'll take a 50
Okay.
grand signing bonus once you fire Kurtzman. And I can guarantee I won't get punched in the mouth by Anson Mount.
I don't know what caused that punch in the face, but he probably had.
Let's face it. If you had the opportunity, would you punch Alex Kurtzman in the face?
I mean, I probably wouldn't, but I would never judge someone who did. And that's what I'll put it at. All right. And on that really bleak note, do you want to give people a Star Trek trivia question to
Oh.
cleanse this?
Cleanse the palate.
Yeah, please.
Who killed the crystalline entity and why?
Nice! There you go.
And we're
Alright,
looking for
perfect.
exact...
The exact motivation and the exact character. Yeah.
Yes.
It can't be because the crystalline entity was evil, because you can't just say that. That's the whole point of the episode.
It's a series of episodes, I believe.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's the episode with the crystalline entity with Sung, and then we come back to the crystalline entity, and that's where it gets killed. It all happens in the same... It all happens in one episode. It's just those episodes were so densely written, it feels like multiple episodes.
I could have sworn it was a two-parter.
No, I swear to God, it's just one episode. But that's how dense the episodes are, right? And how well written they are. That it's like you feel like they're longer episodes. But they did almost no two-parters. You know, Captain Picard gets captured. They meet Mark Twain. Captain Picard gets captured again, but by the Borg this time. They very rarely did two-parters. It's not like Deep Space Nine where there were a lot of continuing stories. They did a whole thing about how Starfleet's major staff, the top of Starfleet, was taken over by brain slugs, and that all got wrapped up in one episode.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. It's first season ever.
All right.
So we'll wrap this up here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop us a line at the comment section below the video. If we would like to end by you recommending people watch or play something.
Vermintide 2, obviously. It's quite a game. Yeah. I'm enjoying it.
It really is. I'm glad you got me to play this, because it's solid.
In terms of watching?
Yeah. Something you've been watching that's, not Star Trek that you actually like.
I've been floating around in Westworld. It's... The writing degrades over time, but it's still entertaining. And it's still the worst episode of Westworld. As nonsensical as it can be in terms of some things, it's still better than the best of Discovery or Picard. Especially Picard.
Especially Picard. You never thought, when we were excoriating Discovery, could you have imagined that there would come a day when you and I would say, well, at least it's not Picard?
Yeah,
but now that's where we are. I couldn't have imagined that. I stopped watching season 2 of Discovery because it got that bad that
we
fast.
Both did.
Mm-hmm.
And
but there's and the crazy thing is, in all of the Discovery season 2 I saw, at least I could say there was one good thing about it, which is Anson Mount got to play a psychic scene with the lady from the cage. And that was actually well written and well performed and kind of sweet.
Now,
and then but it's that was one good thing in all the 6 episodes I saw.
I would say
you couldn't even say that about Picard.
I would say the one redeeming factor of Discovery was Anson Mount.
Yeah, he was he was a great Captain Pike.
And for me to say that Discovery has redeeming qualities should tell you just how bad Picard
it's the series that gave us Hobo Spock.
Yeah, it gave us Hobo Spock, but still, it's like Alex Kurtzman, heard us complaining. He's like, hold my beer.
I can do worse. Just wait.
Challenge accepted.
All right. So we'll see you back here next time for more Vermintide and whatever show we decide to watch. But until then, I'm going to say that's right. Au revoir.